Last but not least, we are done with learning new things in Unit 6 after today, okay? Next class, review day, following class period, test. So please make sure you're using your time wisely today, and after we get done with this, you ask me questions if you have them, because we're running out of time, all right? So, very last thing we're learning is that sometimes we run into an issue, okay? The issue is when I have a trinomial. What's a trinomial? 3 terms, right? Sometimes the X method doesn't work. Okay? We always want to try the X method first. Okay? But sometimes you're going to reach a point where you're trying so hard, you're punching in all the right numbers on your calculator, but you just can't get 2 things that multiply to the top and add to the bottom. Okay? And when that happens, we have to use something known as the quadratic formula. Okay, there is a song about this. It's on YouTube. I'm not going to sing it for you, but hopefully you heard it in Algebra 1. If you didn't, you might want to make it your ringtone on your phone for the next week, at least until the test. Okay. No, I'm not going to take that ceiling tile down. So that will be there. But we have to make sure, okay, there it is. It's a nice, big, ugly formula up on my ceiling. If we don't know how to use it, that's not going to do us any good. So that's what we're doing today is we're just practicing how to use this. So, example 1 here. Solve the following equation by using the quadratic formula. So I first look. Is this in standard form? It is not. It must be, just like everything else. So what is the very first thing if I see something like this that I need to do? Subtract the 2. So I end up with 3x squared minus 5x minus 2 equals 0. Is that better? Yeah. So now we are good to go. Okay, the quadratic formula, which we actually need to write it up here, is this right here. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Told you it was ugly, warned you about it last class. There it is. You've seen it before. It's nothing new. Okay, but we do have to figure out how we're going to use it. So, we've got this equation in standard form. The very first coefficient that is on the highest exponent, so 3. My leading coefficient is 3. That is my a value. The middle coefficient, which is negative 5, is my b value. The last number, which is my constant, is negative 2, and that is my c value. Do you notice how I only have the numbers there, how I don't have their x's? You should notice that. Don't put x's on here. Don't put 3x squared and try to plug that in, because it's not going to work. Just put the 3. Okay? Now we're going to plug this in. So here's how we do it. X equals a negative b. Well, if you notice, b is already negative, right? Okay, but we still have to include a negative in front of it. So a negative, negative 5. We'll simplify it in a minute. Yep, just write negative, negative 5 for now. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. So since it's negative 5 squared, I've got to put that negative 5 in parentheses because the whole thing is being squared. Minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is negative 2. All over 2 times 3. Okay. Seems scary, right? No? Good. First thing you do after you've plugged in these numbers, and this is super important, and I need everybody to have a calculator out. So if you don't have one, please come grab one. Okay, so the very first thing, okay? So we simplify our very first term here. So what is a negative negative 5? 5. We keep our plus or minus for now. We're going to also keep our square root. The next thing you're going to do is you are just going to simplify everything underneath the square root, but don't type the square root symbol yet. Just type in parenthesis negative 5 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 2. And tell me what you get. What do you get? You should get 49. If you did not get 49, please raise your hand. Everybody good on that? Did we all get 49? Okay. Now, 2 times 3. 6. All right. Next thing I do is I check, is the square root of 49 a whole number? So I go on my calculator, I hit the second button, I hit x squared because that's going to pop up the square root. I type in 49, I hit enter. What do you get? 7. Is that a whole number? Cool, that makes my life way easier, okay? So here's what my two answers are. X is going to equal 5 plus 7 divided by 6, and x is going to equal 5 minus 7 divided by 6. That's what a plus minus sign does. Okay, what a plus minus is doing is it's telling you you've got two answers, which makes sense because I know my exponent in the original problem was x squared, my highest one, which tells me there's going to be two answers. Okay, so anytime you're using the quadratic formula, you should always have two answers. Okay, now we just simplify this. What's 5 plus 7 divided by 6? 2. Good. And what's 5 minus 7 divided by 6? Negative what? Negative 1/3, I think. Or negative 0.3. You can put a decimal if you want. Okay. Questions on that? We feel okay with it? Okay. Moving on. Number 2. Is this in standard form? No, it is not. So I must do what? Get it in standard form. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and move everything to the left just because I notice if I do that, it's all going to be positive. If you moved it all to the right, that's okay. You're just going to have negative numbers. Okay? So when I do that, I add 6x over. I also add 7 over. So I end up with 2x squared plus 6x plus 7 equals 0. Everybody okay with that step? Okay. I tried the x method. It didn't work. Okay, saving you a little time. Must use the quadratic formula. So tell me, what is A? B? C? Cool. So now I have negative b, which is going to be negative 6 plus or minus the square root of what? B squared, which is 6 squared minus what? Minus 4 times A, which is 2, times C, which is 7. Good. Over 2 times A, which is 2 times 2. Not that bad, right? Just a process. So now we simplify what's under that square root before we type in the square root symbol. So go ahead and type that in. What do we get? Did everybody get negative 20?
Yeah.
Are we checking it? Blaine, are we checking it? Need to make sure everybody's doing this problem. This test is gonna suck if you're not working. Over what? 4. Okay, I want everybody now to type in the square root of negative 20 in your calculator and tell me what you get. Error. 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 Ruh-roh. We can't take the square root of a negative number, can we? Nope, because two of the same number multiplied together are never going to be negative. Okay? So, here is the deal. Normally we would, it's not a no solution, no. Normally we would go ahead and we'd solve this out. And the way we would solve this out, the way we'd simplify that radical would be all of the videos that were posted on Canvas the week after my wedding. That's when we learned this. Do we remember that? A lot of us don't remember it because a lot of us did absolutely nothing. Yep, it's good that we admit it. Okay, so here's the deal. Being the nice person that I am, it was a good week. Yeah? Great. Glad to hear it, okay? Being the nice teacher that I am, well, being the teacher that I should be is I should let that kind of bite you in the butt here, and I should just take points off for if you can't simplify it beyond this point, right? Okay, but I'm going to be a nice person because I am a nice person. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes?
All the time.
All the time? Okay, thank you. So I'm going to be a nice person. If you make it to this point right here,
You're done.
you can be done.
Let's go.
You can be. But if you want to get any type of extra credit this quarter, this is the only extra credit I'm offering this quarter. I'm not offering any more. You can simplify this. Okay? So, how we would simplify this, for those of you who did what they were supposed to do in December, is we look at just that radical, the square root of negative 20. The first thing we notice is that that is a negative, which cannot happen. So anytime that you have a negative outside of a square root, you can pull that out to the front and just make it the letter I and make it positive. Okay? We call that imaginary. So I can first pull out the negative and make it an I. You'd probably get a half a point of extra credit if you notice that. The next thing that you can do is you take this 20, and I need any two numbers that will multiply to give me 20. 10 and 2 is what I heard first. 5 and 4 would have worked too. Okay? Will 2 break down any further? No. Will 10 though? To what? 5 and 2, right? Will anything else break down further? No, it will not. Okay, so everything that I've broken down, I have a 5, a 2, and a 2. The 10's been broken, so I'm done with it. Okay? Because this is a square root, which means 2, right? That's what square means. I'm looking for groups of 2 of the same number. Well, if I notice, I have a group of 2. 2 of the same number, which happens to be 2, okay? Which means what I can do here, I keep my negative 6 out front, keep my plus minus. I can pull out a 2, keep it with my I, and I still have square root of 5 left over 4. Okay? That's how you simplify that. Last but not least, I can simplify coefficients. So if I notice 6, 2, and 4, what will go into all of those? 2. So if I divide each of these numbers by 2, I'd get negative 3, 1, and 2, which means this will simplify to negative 3 plus or minus 1i square root of 5 over 2. Okay, so whether you left it as this original answer or the simplified answer, I still will not accept either of those, okay? And the reason for that is that we left the plus minus in there. We didn't break it up. So we have to know that plus minus is actually two answers. So this is going to be negative 3 plus I square root of 5 over 2. That's what x is going to equal. And x is also going to equal negative 3 minus I square root of 5 over 2. Okay, so if you would have left it as this, the original, before I took the I out, that's fine. But what I would need you to write on the test is that x equals negative 6 plus the square root of negative 20 over 4, and x is negative 6 minus the square root of negative 20 over 4. On the test day I will. Yep. Break up your plus minuses. Okay? Questions on that?
Which math can become putting imaginary numbers in?
Since obviously today for you, but in December for a lot of other people. Okay.
I don't remember any of that. And I did it.
All right, we're going to skip this one. We're going to go ahead and go to example 4, and I want you to try this one. So put it in the formula and get it as simple as you can, okay?
Which example? Which one?
The second one, sorry. I don't know why the numbering's off. What'd you write down? X equals what? Negative 2. Plus or minus square root of 2 squared. Over 2 times 3. Raise your hand if you agree with this. If you at least made it this far.
I disagree with it.
You disagree with it?
I just don't like the way it's set up.
You're the one that read it to me. Okay. Weird. All right. So first thing we need to do is what?
I'll figure out the thing under it.
Figure out the thing underneath. What was the thing underneath? What did it equal? What was it? 104? You got negative 104?
Yeah, negative 104.
Negative 104. Did everybody get negative 104? That's what I got.
I did the wrong one.
You didn't get negative 104?
No, I did the wrong one.
What do you mean the wrong one?
I did the wrong one.
You did the top number 4? Sorry. Okay.
I just
Now we do what? What's the first thing you can do?
You can't.
Do you like that negative under the radical?
No.
Because I don't. What could I do with it?
Could do that other complicated thing.
It's not very complicated. I take it out and make it an I.
You can do the
So
other one
technically,
easier.
right where it's at now, you said is considered right, but.
But if
we're
you
getting ready to
did
do
that
the
on like a
actual-
regular X
Yeah.
method one that worked, then no. Because it needs to be a whole number. Sometimes, like, once I take out that negative, I might get the square root of 104 to be a perfect square. Okay? In this case, it's not going to happen, though. It's going to be a decimal, right? Okay. So what are two things that will multiply to give me 104? 13 and 8. Will 13 break down any further? No, but 8 will. Okay. Will 4 break down further? 2 and 2. So I only need one group of 2. So I'm just going to take these 2's right here. Okay. But I still have a 2 left and I still have a 13 left that I've not done anything with. So what this becomes now is x equals negative 2 plus or minus 2i, because I took that 2 out. What I have left is 2 times 13, which is what? 26 over 6. Okay. 2 more things I can do. If I see that 2, 2, and 6 can all be simplified, can divide them all by 2. So negative 1, 1, 3. So x equals negative 1 plus or minus I square root of 26 over 3. Last but not least, that's not my answer. What are my two answers? Cool. 2 more things we gotta learn today, and we're done with this unit, okay? I'm gonna change this problem. I'm gonna make it a squared plus 8 equals 0. Okay, is that difference of squares? Why? Well, yeah, 8's not a perfect square, and there's it's addition, yep, plus sign, cool, okay? Do you think I could use the quadratic formula on this?
No.
Why?
There's not a C or a B.
There's not a B?
Well, yeah.
So if there's not a B, what could be B?
0.
B could be 0. So this is the same thing as this, wouldn't you agree? But I don't have to write 0x. So I could do the quadratic formula. A would be 1, okay? Because anytime that there's nothing out front, it's just a coefficient of 1. B would be,
0.
I should have made this x, sorry. Or A. Why won't this work? I used 2 different variables. Sorry for the confusion. Okay, B would be 0 and C would be 8. Does that make sense? Okay, we're not going to do that problem all the way through, but I just want you to see that because there might be one like that on your homework, okay, where it looks like a problem like this, but you have to see that B is missing, okay? So you must make sure that you make B 0. Okay. Last but not least, we need to do a word problem because there will be one like this on the test. I want to do this one, I think. A rectangular patio has an area of 180. Area of 180, that might be important. Width of the patio is 3 feet less than the length. Find the length and the width. Okay. So if we know that area is 180, what is the area formula for a rectangle? Length times width. Okay. So if I know that area is 180 and area is also length times width, couldn't I say that length times width equals 180 here?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I need to assign variables to the length and the width because I don't know what they are. So the width is 3 feet less than the length. So wouldn't you say the length times, if the width is 3 feet less than the length, wouldn't it be L minus 3? Make sense? Length minus 3 would be the width equals 180. You with me? You with me? You with me? Okay. I would then need to FOIL this out. So I'd have L squared. You could have made those X's too if you like to use X better than that. L squared minus 3L equals 180. I need to subtract the 180 over. So I'd end up with L squared minus 3L minus 180 equals 0. You with me? Now I do the what? Try the X method. What goes on top? Negative 180. What goes on bottom? Negative 3. So I need to find 2 things that will multiply to give me negative 180, add to give me negative 3.
Not that.
If I had 15 and 12, which one would need to be negative?
15.
The 15. Okay? So then I've got L minus 15 times L plus 12 is 0.
Now you're speaking a language I understand.
So L equals positive 15 and negative 12.
Those aren't 3 away from each other.
No, they're not. I think this should be positive 12.
Yeah, those.
We messed something up. Maybe this should have been. No, because it wouldn't be L plus 3.
What'd you mess up? I already knew the answer.
No, you did it right, 'cause that's what the problem says, it's -3.
I know. I think this is just worded weird, but either way. All right, we're gonna leave it as that. Your homework is Delta Math, 5 quick problems, and then the rest of this packet. That's it. This is wrapping up Unit 6. Review on Tuesday. Test on Thursday. Let me know if you got questions.